Elizabeth Warren has been warning about this happening for quite some time. Both she and Katie Porter has been preaching we can't have these types of lax regulations because the same thing that happened in 2008 will happen again. In this case, it's not like 2008, but it could have turned into a 2008 depending on how much malfeasance you had throughout the system. Anyhow, she breaks it down into three parts. I think it has to do with government, regulators, and greedy executives. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
The way to understand this crisis is it's really got kind of three players in it. The first is Congress and President Trump, who said, let's weaken the regulation, which you've hit really hard. The second part is the regulators themselves, in particular, the Fed, in particular, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank, who took that change in the laws, and boy, did he run with it. In fact, he ran further than a lot of people even thought the law let him in tailoring the oversight of those banks in order to make it as weak as possible. And by the way, just a little side note, I very much opposed his being renominated to the Federal Reserve Bank, and the reason was exactly this, what he had done on using the opportunities he had by the change in the law in 2018 to weaken bank regulations. In my view, he was just headed in the wrong direction, and that's what made him dangerous in the position of chair of the Fed. But then there's part three, and that is those executives, those bank CEOs who lobbied hard to get this change in the law. Those are the ones who, when the window opened, wow, were they ready to go. And they went out and they decided to load up on risk. And why? They loaded up on risk because it made their banks more profitable, and that meant it made them have higher salaries. They got to rule over bigger banks. They got big bonuses. They brought in their friends, and they did all that by taking on more risk. And it worked. SVB increased its profitability over the last 3 years by 40%. They took on all that risk, made themselves more profitable right up to the day that the bank exploded. And that's the whole story. Part one, the Congress, part two, the regulators, and part three, the executives who took advantage of this.
And there you go. Parts one, parts two, parts three. And it's that simple. It is that corrupt. And that is what needs to be solved. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.